We are back to the roots. Why have we been so conditioned to stay within these rules? Because it seems like Trump is following none.
Man, you bring up such an interesting thing. They're like, politics is how we run this, but it's just these things that we adopted.
Back then, autism, it was like 1 out of a certain number of thousands. Now it's 1 out of 36. I have little moments that I'm like, oh, well, I did that the other day.
Yeah, exactly.
The chat has me almost thinking that I'm autistic. I see myself on video having like a weird stare or whatever.
If ladies truly understood that it's as simple as you are created for the man. The reason why that seems so controversial or people reject it is because it feels like, oh, I'm not worth anything.
You're a slave to sin. You're a slave to your mind. You're a slave.
Exactly.
And here's a man
Miserable.
bringing you out of that. That's what it's supposed to be, right? And
Right.
like, that's independence.
That just proves that they're about their ego.
Do your ears hang low?
Do they dangle to and fro?
Do your chain hang low?
Was it to and fro? I thought it was to the flow.
Oh,
To the floor. Yeah, well, that's do your chain. That's the chain
the rap
one.
version.
Do
Right.
your chain hang low. Do it.
It's actually like
Oh.
a old nursery rhyme.
Do
or
it shine in
song.
the night.
See, I only know the samples,
That's
Is
funny.
it platinum? Is it gold?
sample versions.
Do
It's
it.
like the smooth jazz. That's just the way it is. By Bruce Hornsby.
Yeah.
No, that's
like
Tupac.
Tupac.
Right,
That's
Tupac.
Tupac.
Can you throw it over your shoulder?
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Oh. Welcome to Punchie TV.
Welcome to Punchie TV with your hosts.
Welcome to Punchie TV. I am Punch with your host, Punchie, from JesseLeePeterson.com show. Oh, Joel Friday, the host of the... What am I saying about you? The American Anchor Baby. The host of the American Anchor Baby show. James Hake, a host of the Hake Report. Welcome to Punchie TV. Punchie.
Welcome to Punchie TV. We are back to the roots. Just the three hosts. Joel Friday TV. We got the Hake Report and American Anchor Baby. And we are back here with an episode, no guest. It's all good. It's all good. We're going to get into it. We got some stuff that we're going to get into. First off, how do you guys think Trump administration right now is doing overall so far? What do
I'm
you guys
happy.
think?
Incredible.
Yeah, it's like it's looking. We'll see what happens. I've always been waiting to see with Trump, but I've had some time to see, right, a lot of he's done.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy, and there's still a lot to see, but it's what, been 40-something days?
Yeah.
Gotta say, it's pretty, it's at least impressive. It's and the amount, even if you disagree, there's stuff happening.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's doing stuff, and his team is doing stuff that I never thought of that definitely needed to happen.
Yeah. You think that they're going hard, or you think they're just getting a job done?
Is there a difference? And is there a difference? Because if you
Right.
think about it, when you're doing the job that you're supposed to do, you're doing your job.
Yeah.
And you're doing like 100%,
I find it interesting that there's so many things that are getting overturned that are like things that normally shouldn't have been in place. Like
Yeah.
common sense things.
Right.
To where it feels like maybe a lot is being done, but at the same time, it's like maybe he's also undoing just silly things.
Right.
You know what I mean? That didn't make sense, that were like put in place before him.
Totally.
When every room is messy and someone makes their bed, you're like, that's incredible.
Right. And then and it seems like it's this grand thing, but which I do think it feels as if they're doing like major things, like the border stuff,
Yep.
and they're reporting on it and stuff like that. But also, and then cutting down on a lot of funding.
Yeah.
That's definitely is at least what it seems that they're doing. But a lot of stuff that I've seen him like get rid of is just like stupid stuff.
Definitely.
So,
Like law and order, right? Clean up the streets. Put cops there. It's like, yeah.
Right.
No, but I get it. It's like, but when a grand thing, when something like that is grand, it's a reflection on the society too, you know, in
Yeah.
the state we're in. Like when it's that grand, that is kind of that's kind of at the core of what's of this whole Trump thing since it's been almost a decade now, and it's about how insane our own society has become. We become sick, you know what I mean? Like sick to where making your bed it's like, no, it's like, that's the most
true.
amazing thing. I can't believe I never even thought of that.
That's a good point. It's almost like, to use that analogy, making your bed, it's almost like as a society today, if you're told to make your bed, you can look back at them and say, how dare you tell me to make my bed, type of thing.
Look, nobody does that.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like offensive to say make your bed. And then now when somebody comes in and makes you make your bed, or now the bed is made, it's like, why do we have to tell you to make the bed? But that's what it feels like. It feels like a lot of things were like that, just as simple as making the bed.
And I didn't know that you could do a lot of this stuff. I thought that this stuff was entrenched. A lot of the agencies that he's cutting way down on, and people that he's firing, and crap that we're funding. They're stopping that. Stopping a lot of it sounds like.
Yeah.
And shining a light on it. And it's hard to know what the whole truth is because the media says, no, it's not. And I know not to trust the media, but I also know I never really expect much even of Trump because I know that he's just one man and he doesn't know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And so you can't expect a whole lot because there's a whole lot of evil people fighting against things happening.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed.
And I also like how random like his choices are. Like even having Elon in there.
Yeah.
Like it's just makes so much sense to me because it's like this billionaire who and then also the other guy, Vivek, he's supposed to be helping out and with Elon on some stuff. I don't know how active he's been, but we've been seeing Elon's face a lot more. But it's like it's obvious that you would want somebody like Elon to help cut down spending. He knows money well. Yep. Trump knows money well. But it's like, why haven't this been the case over the years and years and years and years politics been around to just use somebody who's good at the job instead of a politician?
I think because you've had a politician class kind of thing, a politician identity. And so you have all these people and they're all about scratching each other's backs.
Yeah.
And so I think that they're just protecting their own jobs and protecting other people's jobs. And it's not their money that they're wasting, really. Yeah. All these generous people are generous with other people's money. So they just have money to blow. And that's you better spend this money because this is what's allotted to us. If you don't spend it all, then we're not going to get that same amount allotted to us every year. So it just gets inflated and bloated and out of control.
No, I wanted to add that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how does it happen? You get one guy that had the will to do it. It's like, doesn't that mean everybody in the government's evil? Because if it took one guy with just the will to do it, like, okay, I'm coming to the government to do this and nothing's going to stop me. It's like, what about all these people? Every one of them must be evil because they're all fighting saying, I'm going to do the right thing. And it took one guy to actually want to do the right thing.
Actually do
while they're all pretending to actually want to do the right thing.
And maybe
so they're all evil.
Yeah. And maybe everybody's been trying to follow these false rules of politics. Because like what it sounds like too is that like you have this pool of politicians, and within this pool of politicians over all these years, we're choosing which one will be good at saving money, which one will be good at doing this and that, instead of going outside the pool of politicians and getting people who are actually good at these things.
Right.
That's why I'm wondering, like, why have we been so conditioned to stay within these rules? Because it seems like Trump is following none of them.
Man, you bring up such an interesting thing. It's really like a funny thing. I don't know how. What I'm seeing now is like society just like trying to take these old rules and just trying their best out in the wilderness. Yeah. And they're like, politics is how we run this, but it's just these things that we adopted.
Right.
When it's like, what are you trying to do with politics? Well, we're trying to fix the roads, for example, well, then you got to care about fixing the roads, not
exactly.
politics.
Exactly.
But we're
Exactly.
stuck in this paradigm
Yeah.
of rules. We just because we have if we didn't have that,
Yeah.
that's what our mind tells us. But at the same time,
Yeah. That's interesting because
just put it out there.
it almost seems like it took like a Donald Trump to come in and break those rules for people also of society of the world to also be more involved because it was real for one, but it's also entertaining to see like because this is what really is people of because they always want to say that we want people who look like us and represent us in the world.
Yeah.
Well, what Trump is doing is that because it's a bunch of randomness.
Yeah.
And that represents the world because
It's
everybody
God's diversity. not
Yeah,
Satan's.
yeah. Like it's not like diversity within these this small pool of politics. It's like no, it's like we have Elon Musk and then Donald Trump and then we have these other people who are doing a job. Tom Homan doing a job to get it done opposed to trying to fit the look.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Even the Republicans, I feel like, have been buying into that representation and diversity and have a black this, have a woman that, have a this, that.
Yeah.
And that's not how Trump really thinks.
Yeah.
I mean, he does include those people, but it's the competent ones, hopefully. Usually.
Yeah.
He tries to anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never, his first term, I never really thought that a politician could not be phony. Like I thought that that's all we ever get. The best we can get is like Ted Cruz, who's sort of conservative, a phony politician, but I didn't realize how phony he was until I saw him next to Trump in the debate. And so likewise, I didn't think that you could actually get stuff done in the government for what's right.
Yeah.
I thought you could only get stuff done for what's wrong.
Yeah.
in the government.
Now it's making me think that with everything, just like politics, it's all just everyone just trying to fit into this suit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they get into this suit, but they can't get nothing done because it's not them, it's a suit.
Yeah.
So Trump is like, that's what's so cool is that he is just Trump still wearing the suit, but it's like they almost made him his own suit. That's what it feels like.
Right. He's fearless. He's common sense. And he talks like, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up listening to boomers and older people and Gen Xers complain about the insanity of the government, doing just stupid things, including even I was a little kid in Colorado, they're complaining about seatbelt laws, the insanity of seatbelt laws. And now you and I and so many people, nobody talks about seatbelt laws being oppressive.
Right.
And he brings up stuff that we've forgotten about. English, the national language.
Yeah.
And all these things that are just common sense pro-American.
Yeah.
Gulf of America.
Yeah.
I never even had
Good
that.
point.
I only saw that parodied in like cartoons or something, like a boomer.
Yeah.
I didn't even get that. Right, I only got like this image of it in
Right.
like parodies on social. I'm like an animal getting life through the screen. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that's the zoomer part of me. Consider for a moment Elon and this entrance of the tech people, because it's not just Elon, it's these tech guys. They call it little tech. They're the venture tech people that are even fresher than the established tech people like Microsoft, Apple. They're the guys making AI. They're the ones raking a whole bunch of fresh money. Like what I'm trying to get at is there's a disagreement in the right wing about them coming in. They think their culture is weird. They're liberals. Like they're not really American. They're not really like us. It's this AI thing and changing America. But about Trump, what's so interesting about him is that consider that it's kind of a thing that his base may not like, but this is kind of proof of this vision he sees. And it's like, yeah, that might be even true. These tech people aren't really on our side, maybe, a lot of them. They're weird, too. They're weird, some of them. Like, weird.
Yeah.
And yet, Trump sees the whole world. They're all doing AI. China, da-da-da. He's just like, you know what? I'm not going to leave America behind. He sees, he's going to keep us competitive. There's something to be said about that.
There's a need. I always find it interesting that how people aren't seeing that and how they have these heavy criticisms, but I don't quite understand where they're coming from, though, because on on a basic level, he's just doing the job. So that's why I never understand. I don't know if you guys maybe know why the criticisms are so heavy.
Part of it might be that I've heard somebody made the point that he's doing stuff that 80% of the people agree with. No men and women's sports.
Right.
I'm like, okay, whatever.
Right.
But yes, right, I agree.
Yeah.
And the border, everybody wants. I mean, the people with any sanity whatsoever want the border under control. The crime thing, and different things like that. Those are all popular things. And he gains more and more and more political power by doing what's popular first and focusing on that.
That's a good point.
And those are the things that are quite urgent, too.
Yeah.
Because it's insane that they're allowing the transgender thing to go so out of control. It's insane that we let the border and the crime and all that other stuff that he's focusing on right now.
Yeah.
And then once he has that, people can see that, oh, he's actually for America.
Yeah.
Then maybe he can go further. And he already wants to go further with the deportation numbers.
Yeah.
And they're just not giving him credit for it, in my opinion.
No,
Because he already fired the guy who wasn't doing.
That's the thing about the criticisms, and I want to like summarize maybe a little bit of where it's coming from, but I gotta say, I'll put it like this: I'll give this to the criticizers. Not that I'm trying to be adversarial with them, but I'll give this to them. That for their one thing I can't say about all their criticism is I can't say that you're totally wrong because we don't know yet.
Yeah.
And I'm the one making they'll call it cope. I hear it now, but I'm the one saying that the lofty things he's saying, the American spirit, all this thing that sounds too high, that he's being quite measured about it. He's saying perhaps this is our golden age.
Yeah.
And he's. But which is just a fact, right? And so I say this to them, like, yeah, you're right, we don't know. So that's how I take a lot of the criticism, not all of it. It's fear. It's fear. It's like, but you're pushing us away from this trade stuff. But this is not going to work. That's not going to work. And yet there are signs in the rumblings that, but you can't even say that, like the firing of this person, etc. The Tom Homan not happy with the deportation numbers. They were laughing about it on Twitter, like, look, this is not happening, guys. It's not happening. But yeah, here they are sounding like they know. I know it might sound like I'm waiting and seeing, so that's how I feel about it.
Wait and see. Yeah. No, that's true.
And even the Israel thing, there's the bipartisan pro-Israel people whom I don't like or trust at all. I like Israel fine. I agree with, I was raised Christian. We always liked Israel for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I didn't really even know why necessarily. But I've never really strayed from that. And Trump seems to be like that too. And he gets along with Bibi, who didn't get along with Obama. I always bring that up because Obama was not for America. And you can say, oh, Bibi wants us to go to war with Iran. But Trump is not a sucker for war. And he's been, if anything, better on the war issue, which is, I think, people's main issue with Israel, than anybody else. And you have to work with them. There's no choice. There's nobody not going to work with Israel. If you're not going to work with Israel, you're not getting elected.
And it's like, I get you. Like you're saying, like Bibi's going to want war. It's up to like, we got to approach like the right way.
Yeah.
And I got you, man.
Interesting.
I think.
Okay. No,
I just wanted to say something too further, like about some of the criticism. I think this Israel thing, okay. From that direction of criticism has come like things that I think people who aren't even into that, they can somewhat agree with, like anti-Semitism. Like I'm not saying it has to confront, that sounds like ego, but I think eventually that's something that doesn't gel, that has to maybe be resolved in a sense. It's like, we're the free speech, but you can't anti-Semitism, right? I don't think it's that big a deal. Like, it's like alliances and stuff. It's
because of the Trump administration.
Right. That's what I'm getting. Exactly. The Republican Party right now being, for example, being against anti-Semitism, doing that stuff. So from the Israel criticism camp has come things that I think even people who are not into criticizing Israel, that they can understand are fair criticisms, for example.
Did you guys hear, what's his
Justin
name?
Trudeau?
He was criticizing Trump.
Big time.
Yeah, and
really?
yeah. I should have pulled.
But
the
he
clip.
stopped himself from calling him dumb though.
Did he?
I don't know if you notice. He's just like, I think you're a smart guy, but you're doing
Yeah.
something really dumb.
Oh, could you explain if you remember off the
It's
top
about
of
the
your head?
tariffs, right?
Yeah. Can you explain?
Okay, well,
what that mean? What he said?
you got tariffs coming down from Trump. He said they were coming down, and there they are. It's like you should have expected it. He's trying to get a better deal for America, essentially. And the better deal involves a number of things, fixing some border issues with Mexico and Canada, illegals coming over drugs. But it's also just money. It's just like, I don't like how this goes. We want manufacturing in America. We want to make America amazing, golden age. So the Canada and Mexico have responded in some ways kind of known, but it's like, how long are they going to drag this out? Because they're going hard. They hit him back with like 75% tariffs because Trump hit Canada with a 25% tariff, meaning anything that comes in from Canada, we hit it with a 25% tax. American consumers might get hit there, but Canada hits him with a 75% tax, and Trudeau's fighting this trade war, basically. He's like, we're not backing down. We're not the 51st state. And he goes on the camera. He's just like, you're a smart guy, but what you're doing is dumb. And we're going to keep this trade war up.
Right. And then he also says that the American people be careful because you're putting Trump is putting you guys at risk. And the economy is getting ready to crash because of all that stuff. And hearing it, obviously, I don't have all the facts in front of me to say, oh, you're wrong. But it's like something in me also can't believe it either, because it's like I also know that when in doing a tough job or doing the right thing, if it's true that the economy is going to do something, sometimes that's what has to happen to overcome that bump in the road for things to change. So I think it almost feels like just a necessary thing to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've been setting up for the economy to fail, honestly, ever since, well, definitely the China virus. But even before that, they were living ridiculously by saying these governments, all of these governments living high on debt, blowing money like crazy, spoiling their people. And when I say spoiling their people, I mean just welfare type stuff.
Yeah.
Homelessness, crime, immigration out of control. They're not doing well. They're not doing good by their responsible populace. And so they've been setting up, and with the overreaction to the China virus and all that stuff, that set up for the economy to have a nasty crash. And so they set it up to mess up. And now it looks like they're trying to frame Trump for it because Trump is doing something unusual that's not according to what they want to do. You know what I mean?
It's absolutely correct. It's a hiccup. You're right. It's just it's to set things right in the interim to make it all good. But you know what's going on too? It's like what explains Trudeau's actions? It's like you're talking about. You think you're really gonna hurt America? The one who's gonna like we're talking about economy. It's not a war. It's not a war. The economy dwarfs Canada many times over. So there's no war, because in a war you have to have true leverage and be like you can actually hurt him a bit so that you can make him agree with a deal. It's not a war. What it is, it's basically a bet of a coalition. See, Canada is part of a old team. This old team from the World Wars, the Europe. You know, we're all together, and it's a bet. Trump has been this train, this wrecking ball to this whole team, all the old teams, right? The old teams are scared too because Russia, China, we got to stay together. And so what's going on? It's a bet. It's a bet of the old team versus this new Trump thing. And they're saying, no, we're gonna beat Trump eventually. Because it's not just Canada. It's Europe.
Yeah.
They keep fighting him on Ukraine. They keep fighting him on all sorts of things in the whole global stage. So it's like a big team that's trying to fight Trump.
Yeah. But like because it's interesting how, like, if you don't know what is right, like common sense, and when someone comes in and says, no, we need to go this way, in your mind, when you can't see, you're thinking like, that's the enemy. But, you know what I mean? But in actuality, no, you just can't see that this is the way we need to go type of thing.
Trump's like not trying to fight Russia that hard. And he's like, to the NATO countries, like, defend yourself. I'll F this treaty, NATO. We're supposed to protect each other. And they're
Right.
like, what? For 80 years
Right.
we've been going this way.
Exactly.
You're supposed to do it like this, man. And he's doing
Yeah.
and they can't even think different. They can't even go
Yeah.
beyond and be real.
Yeah, back then, autism, it was like 1 out of like a certain number of thousands
Like
that had
10,000, I
that
think.
had autism. Now it's 1 out of 36.
I heard that.
And then so then RFK Jr., what's his name?
Yeah.
Is supposed to be now looking into what the issue is. But I'm curious to what he finds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, with autism.
Because there's this fight against blaming a certain type of thing
yeah.
that,
True say.
That's what I'm wondering. Like,
yeah.
maybe we discover if it's actually a
That
thing or
or-
it's spiritual or is it like
And who knows?
Who knows?
If it's overdiagnosed.
right?
If it's, I mean, there are people who are just, they clearly have something crazy going on to them.
Yeah.
Because they shout out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They're just completely off.
Yeah.
But there's like the higher functioning ones.
Yeah.
And
Well,
there's all kinds of mess going
Chat's
on.
gonna slam me for this, but the only reason why I question these things because sometimes I look at my own behavior.
Right.
Sometimes,
Wait, what?
Like I look at my own behavior sometimes. Sometimes, like when I like say if I get a like, let's just say I'm like delirious a day, right? Or I'm like hyped up on like some caffeine or something, right? You get this thought that gets so loud, and sometimes I blur something out or whatever the case is, or like whatever it is, and then I realize like, oh, well, that could be like considered a Tourette, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, okay, well then if I now identify with it, then now I have more naturally in my mind that like, oh, okay, well this is a normal thing. This is just a condition. So now I'm gonna do it more.
Bro, I'm radicalized
So
like this.
so I was like,
I'm
I'm not
radicalized.
saying I know that.
No,
it's
I bet you
not,
because you
but
see some of them. They're like,
yeah.
it's not even just shouting. It's like you can't even speak. Like it's something that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I'm radicalized. I don't know if that's radicalized, but if you're radicalized, I'm radicalized. Because if I can confuse that with just being anxious, if
Right.
your disease ailment or whatever can also be just like you were sad or just angry,
Right.
then I'm not convinced.
Right.
Not
That's
paying
what it's hard.
attention.
Right, like it could be
Like
be
you're not
misconstrued as
focusing
both.
Yeah.
If your Tourette's tic can be misconstrued also as a something like you described, more of like an emotional thing
Yeah.
that you can feed into, then to me it's always been like that. And like
Yeah, like there's a spiritual cure,
Yeah. There's
and that'll
something.
cure the body.
And like I said, of
Or
course
that-
we don't
that
know.
screwed up the body in the first place.
Right.
the
And that's what I
mindset.
I just question. That's what we're gonna put it as.
Yeah.
I question because of the fact that like I have little moments that people who have this thing, I'm like, oh, well, I did that the other day.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
like, do I have that now, or is it just something that I had that I know? And I
either
also
we're
was
about to get diagnosed or
I know.
it's just
I
not
know,
true.
This is funny. The chat has me almost thinking that I'm autistic.
Right.
The chat like frequently accuse me of being autistic.
Yeah.
And then I've had people criticize me, and every now and
Yeah.
then, like I see myself on
Yeah.
video having like a weird stare or whatever. And then I see like on the Chosen
Yeah.
TV show, they say that they made Matthew
Yeah.
autistic.
Yeah.
I'm like, I kind of look like that sometimes.
I know,
But I think that I've always thought of that as like an insecure habit
Yeah.
or something spiritual.
Yeah.
Spiritual that deformed into a mental habit.
Yeah.
That is just a habit.
There's an image I saw years. I must have been in school, and it's been flashing in my mind ever since. And it's like this guy opening his locker. It's just an image. It's like the locker's open and there's a picture. And the guy looks normal, but in the mirror, he looks like he has Down syndrome. And it's like, and I think it says something like if no one thinks I'm retarded, does that mean I'm retarded? Or is it
Right.
like, does the retarded guy know that he's retarded or something
Right,
like that? I don't know why that's always been. I can see it now. Like wait. And there's been moments in my life I'm
Yeah.
like, did everybody see me as like retarded? And I don't
Well,
know
see,
this.
you
I'm the
know-
only one that doesn't know. And I have like, if I saw a mirror, like I actually have like
Yeah.
downs.
But what's interesting about that too, though, is that because I've always like they tried to tell me when I was younger I had ADHD or ADD, one of them, right?
Yeah.
They pretty much almost
It
tell
was
every
called
kid.
ADD back
Right.
in the day.
Right.
And then they added the
the
H.
H to it. But the doctors told my mom that I had it. Whether I had it or have it or whatever the case, whether it's a mental thing or not, right?
Yeah.
Either way, the fact that I was never raised on identifying it with it, it never messed me up.
Nice.
Like I never had to take any pills or whatever. I did
Yeah.
have a hard time focusing, maybe still now, right? But I'm able to still function in society without this like identity attached to me to make me, I don't know, feel like a victim or feel like I'm not getting a fair shot or feel like it's holding me back. And I feel like that is a big part of like the adding to whatever this may or may not be, this issue.
They're like names they're names for that, like a shorthand description of how people tend to behave in different situations. Right. Or in different types of people tend to fall into. And then it becomes like I forgot what I was going to say, but it becomes kind of like an expectation.
Yeah.
That you're supposed to, like you said, an identity.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
We don't have anything. No, that's all fake.
Yeah.
No, but to add to that, because it's so deep. I think, let's say, imagine there is like you can one day find this physical structure that's wrong, and it's like, okay, that's actually real. But imagine a society that at least acted like, not to pretend like, but yeah, like acted like it wasn't real. Acted like you should treat this person who has this issue just like you would treat a normal person. You still have to be responsible. You have to still try your best.
Right.
You know what I mean? Imagine what you would have. Even those people who have a physical ailment, they're gonna have this for life. Would maybe even get better in a sense. Like, you have a better life. Like we have an opposite society.
In a lot of cases, treating somebody in this way doesn't help them. Right? It only adds to their disability.
You're like excusing them or expecting them to do it, and then they feel like they can keep on doing it.
And then you talk to them a certain way, and then they receive like attention from people in that soft like way, as if they're wrong, like there's something's wrong with them. So then they're like, oh, something is wrong with me, and this weird stuff. And I remember I played on my show one time, or maybe we did on Punchie, I don't remember, but it was a Down syndrome girl. And she's on TikTok or something, and her mom posts videos of her, but she calls it Up syndrome, and she changed her name. But the girl with Down syndrome acts like a normal kid.
Get your daughter, like for I'm not playing. Get your daughter.
What the hell happened now?
She's in my room, no reason.
Oh,
Tell her to get out. She's in my room.
That's both of y'all.
No, it's not.
Room, yes it is.
Who pays for it? You? Oh, okay then. So tell her to get out of my room.
Girl, that's your sister.
She's not my sister. She's my fake sister.
How is she your fake sister?
I try to call my friend, and she just messed it up. I say, and that's April. I say, none of your business. But just tell her to get out of the Mom, ain't no bigger deal. No bigger deal.
So why are you
Just tell her
making
to
it?
get out.
If it's not a big deal, why are you making it a big deal then?
Because she's in my room. I talk to my friends, and she just messed it up. Get your daughter.
The girl acts normal. The mom raised her in such a way it taught her regular. There's a big part to play in how you approach whatever the thing is.
True.
Yeah, that
So true, man. Man, there's like a double effect to that too. That like we were saying, treating them like babying them the way you treat certain. It comes out, you start treating them weird, and babying them and all that. There's like a nasty double effect to that, where the person you're treating like that can, and maybe even all the time, eventually like it becomes like evil, like quite evil, like quite nasty in that it becomes quite. What I'm trying to get at is it becomes, I think, quite malicious. Like you're just like, okay, I know I can get this out of you because you see me this way. Let me play it up. Let me add to it.
Yeah.
Now you're in there. You know
it's
what I mean?
like pressing into this thing, and using it to your benefit. Yeah, that's another.
I knew a guy who was high functioning autistic, according to him, and he would always lose stuff. You'd lose credit cards, lose keys, lose everything, and it would disrupt his life, and his parents or whoever would accommodate that. Send him a new credit card. Send him new keys. Go pick him up.
Yeah.
Just kind of constantly bail him out so he never had to learn.
Yeah.
He never had to get that. He probably could have been a little bit more strict, self-disciplined, paying attention in life, but because he knew that maybe subconsciously knew that he was going to keep on getting away with it.
Yeah.
He's constantly bailed out.
Yeah.
He's just getting worse in that
In
condition.
that condition, yeah. Man, that's so interesting because now I'm thinking back and like all these things are like popping up in my head. A little behaviors that I used to have when I was younger.
Yep.
I remember that I also was told that I had the OCD thing, and now I use it like as a joke because maybe I
Yeah.
did, but also I realized that because I used to always have to like if I touched the doorknob, I had to touch it like 10 times, right? Like the weird stuff.
Yeah.
To where like if it was a crack, I had to go back over it like that, right? But if I was out in public, it wasn't so bad to where like I would do it in front of people, right? But I knew a guy who went to my high school who would he would walk back and forth. People would be like, "What's wrong with you, man?" Because he would have that thing. But I used to have that too, like having to touch things or having to keep. But I realized though, as I got older, that when I have that urge to pop up, I now realize that when I separate from it, like aware of it, that it's just this feeling I have that it gives me a weird satisfaction.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's really just a
it's just a
satisfaction.
feeling, yeah.
Yeah, that's all
it's
it
just
is.
scratching an itch.
Yeah,
It's scratching-
exactly.
Dude,
That's what it
you're
is.
reminded. You just brought back like I'm not really feeling it, but it was funny. It's just weird. It's just like scratching this specific part of my pinky, and I had to go like that a few times. Like I don't know what it was. I wasn't itchy. It's so strange, but it's totally just scratching it, and it's so weird because it's not even a hate thing what I'm about to say, but it's like just weak, like being a worm, like being really weak to whatever whim, and it's a true weakness, not out of not even like a condemnation coming from me. It's just is what it is.
There's people who there's value to pointing out the obvious, because sometimes you may think that a person knows what they're doing. But people are not aware of what they're doing.
Yeah. That's true.
And so if you point it out to them, that could be a huge help to them.
Yeah, because they're so comfortable and accustomed to doing it.
Yeah.
They just go and you get into this flow of normalizing it. And then when someone points it out, you're like, oh, shoot, I was doing that.
Right.
When you already know in the back of your head that you do it.
Yep.
But when they point it out, it's almost like it's obvious now that
It's
this
like
is it.
you're doing them a big favor.
Yeah.
And it's so
Oh,
weird
y'all see
because
too.
Yeah.
a lot of
You
stuff.
said what?
Y'all see too. My bad.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff is really obvious, and so you're just resenting this person,
Yeah.
or judging this person, or thinking, "Oh, that's how he is." When
Yeah.
he doesn't have to be like that.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Dang.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't the direction we was the plan to go into, but it was good conversation. But I do want to ask, you got any last comments on that there?
Go Bobby Kennedy.
Oh yeah.
I know. We'll find out. What really.
Fight that hate.
Nice, man.
All right, to take a little turn, there's this guy called Corey Holcomb. You guys familiar? He's a comedian. He was on that show called Wildin' Out, and he's just a jokester, but he also has a podcast now. I didn't know he had like a podcast and it was a serious thing, and he talks about, but he was making some good points on this podcast, in my opinion. You guys let me know what you guys think. Audience, you can let us know as well. He plays this clip of Halle Berry at the Oscars and makes a point about women in Hollywood and wanting attention. So this is from THPP Network on YouTube. Corey Holcomb gives his take on women who seek attention.
A woman who lives with her man, that's her job. She honors that man. She takes care of that man. And there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. That man is really expected to hold her down.
I'm sorry, Georgina, but I gotta do it.
Oh my God!
Best Oscar moment ever! To pay him back. You know
Wow! But see, a bitch that's in the game and trying to take from a man, that's a foul mother. What do I mean when I say a woman that's in the game? If a bitch gotta be seen, that's not a bitch to be a with. Let me say it in layman's terms. If you're around a woman who needs attention, who needs to be in the spotlight, that's not the one to build with, brother.
Interesting.
So what I think he's basically alluding to is that in that the behavior that comes from that is something like Halle Berry who kisses.
That was his recent Oscars or
This is
something?
the Oscars.
So that was Halle Berry.
That's
who
her
was
man.
Kissing like a white-looking type of
yeah,
person
actor. So the backstory behind it
on the mouth
is a while ago, years ago, Halle Berry was accepting an award and he kissed her on the mouth years ago, right, on stage. So what she was doing was just like making the funny bit, coming back at him and doing like, oh, I owed you one from years ago. But the thing now is that his wife was right and there.
That's what I'm trying to.
His wife.
Oh,
his wife was right there.
His wife was right there.
And she just.
And then is she married to that older looking black guy?
She's married to
she's married to somebody else.
She's married to somebody else, and then she kissed this guy as like a funny get you back type of thing.
Yeah.
Right. This is
But
Insider
the wife was
Hollywood.
right there. Yeah.
Call back to blah blah blah.
Right. Exactly. This is the Hollywood
She's an
thing.
actress. She can do that, and it doesn't look like it doesn't mean anything,
I know.
right?
Oh, yeah, I guess so, right? Because they do movies.
Yeah.
They kiss other
Movies
people.
do all kinds of stuff,
Right.
especially in.
But you're not in a
unchristian
movie.
I know.
This is my life.
All right. And
Woman.
the wife was right there, and I wonder, and
My
I
life,
asked,
not
and I'm
hers.
wondering, like, what is the wife? What would anybody, period, acting or not, feel about that moment? All the cameras are watching. You're holding your wife's hand, and then this woman comes up and kisses you on, joke or not.
Yeah.
Like, what is? So I think that's what Corey was alluding to. Is like any woman in the spotlight is not one you want to build with
Yeah,
because
she's a showboat.
yeah. But there's a part 2 just to
Okay.
finish this part, and then we can get into it. This is where he finishes off what he's saying.
I've been dying to pay him back for 22 years. Wow. 21 years. Now I got a chance to pay him back on his big night.
So you can see the first picture on the left.
He kind of.
Right there. That's
There we go.
It's almost like a challenger's moment. You
For him, it
kissed
was like
him,
yesterday.
he kissed Georgina. I was like, whoa, they're recreating them.
Georgina said I could.
Coolest girl ever.
Ever.
Oh.
Girl power.
There's no way a woman who has the urge to be in the spotlight is going to be able to do what she needs to do as a woman for a man.
Look, okay. It's like,
Black man on the black thing.
there's a lot.
I agree with him on a little bit of a level. Go ahead.
No. Well, I guess I'll go. I mean, so yeah, the thing about like the wives and the Hollywood
Yeah.
thing, I guess that was another level of question, but I guess they're okay with it. Why should
Right.
I care, right? Like,
right.
But
So-
we didn't
Exactly.
see it- we
But
didn't see
I'll
a
put it-
green light from her from how is it Holly or Hallie?
huh?
One of them.
From George.
Halle
So that
Berry,
white
yeah.
woman was.
Berry.
Is that Adrian?
Um,
Never mind. I don't know.
Yeah,
I want to say
Brody.
the bro. So that is
yeah,
that guy.
Yeah.
So his
That's
wife
the
was
guy
right
with the
there.
Eyebrows?
That's the
Just
guy
the
that was
eyebrows.
getting kissed by Halle Berry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to remember and keep it.
Yeah.
And that his wife, and his wife saying it's
Georgina.
cool. Georgina was
Yeah.
saying to Halle it's cool. So that clears that up.
Yeah. So
You
let
know,
them be. Yeah.
So for me, it's like whatever. That's cool with it. Like personally, that
Yeah.
still leaves Adrian out. Like nobody asked him.
right.
Is Adrian?
The husband
Oh, okay.
who got kissed by Halle Berry.
Right.
And what about the husband of Hallie? Berry?
And nobody.
He was at home watching the kids.
Oh,
but
While she
Halle.
was at the,
Really?
while she was at the, she said
Is
it
that true?
furthermore in
But
the interview.
it's like, is that ever
did
inappropriate?
he greenlight her? kissing?
Yeah.
oh, he had. I mean, well, that's a good question.
He
we
doesn't
don't
have
know.
a choice. He greenlights everything that she does.
Right. It's like,
Yeah,
what's
we
going
don't
on with
know.
that?
We don't
It's
know.
like, damn. Give me if he's at
You're
home.
married to Halle Berry. You greenlight
I know you
everything.
better say that.
Just kidding. I don't.
We don't know.
Man. But yeah, I don't know. I'll put it. The reason I even say it's like no one asked Adrian, like, because it's still totally unladylike, and the way she put his arms around him and everything, like, there's this amazing moment with Trump, just in this recent address, and this woman, who was it? Someone we know, like in the news, went up with her hands like this, Nancy Mace, with her hands like this, so he's about to grab his face, like da da da. It's this thing that's like a dominating women thing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just, it must be old school. He grabs her hand, the way, you got to see it, maybe could put it in. And he grabs her hand, he stops the claw move, the woman claw move, he stops it. And they just have
Nice.
a way
Yeah.
more masculine embrace. And that's just
Yeah.
like a visual thing. It really is unladylike.
Yeah.
The
Nancy Mace is a little feminist.
but it's like but that's another level, right? The Oscars thing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a thing I don't even get. So.
Well, see, that's the thing is that with with as far as consent, we don't know. Maybe it was all an act. Maybe they all said
Right.
do it
I'm calling
together.
it SA.
Right. So it could have been like, what is that?
Sexual assault.
No, it could have been like, because everybody
Jail.
looked like, oh, hey, this is fun.
Right,
and then
right,
he kissed
right.
the wife, and then they all did like a kissing thing. It was just like, whatever. That's if they want to
Best
do
Oscars
that.
moment.
Degenerate.
They want to do that. That's up to them. But my thing is that, like, I love I like the point that was made about how choosing the woman you want to build with type of thing that Corey was making. And it brought me to this thing that I thought about. I had read this like scripture in the Bible a long time ago, and it was talking about the purpose of like a lady. And you guys let me know what you guys think about this. It's from Corinthians 11:8 through 12. And it says, "For man did not come from women, but women from man." I think Jackie might have been alluding to this scripture. She said, "Neither was man created for a woman, but woman for man." So woman created for man. "It is for this reason that a woman ought to have authority over her own head because of the angels. Nevertheless, in the Lord, woman is not independent of man, nor is man independent of woman. For a woman came from man, so also man is born of woman." So that's what she was also making the second point, Jackie. But everything comes from God, right? But the point is that what I'm trying to make, and maybe add more to his point, is that the man is in the spotlight. And then it made me simplify like all this stuff that we see, the ladies in the industry, the ladies in politics, the ladies in all these things, is that it feels out of order because of the fact that woman is made to just help the man.
I'm at the point where when I see a woman doing that, I think she's like, it's like she's challenging the man, like she's spiritually challenging him, like she really doesn't want to do that. And I call it radical because in that, like, they're still an individual, they think for themselves, but maybe they really want to start a podcast. But I gotta say, when I see, I'm at the point where they're really just challenging the man and waiting for him to tell her no. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And anyways, that's another point.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to add to what you were saying because we were saying about how you're gonna have that price to pay. Like they have no place they're in the wrong place. Put it like this: even like any man, like attention, for example, even any man looking for that would pay a price and looking for that.
Yeah.
And so why is it that only a man should do it? Let's say it's your job, like an actor, because correct kind of man is not doing it for the attention.
Right.
It's just using the attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does right.
Yeah,
It's just using it. It's not even about that.
Good
so
point.
so it and that's why it's the man's domain.
There are
Because
men who are-
they're looking at God, the right
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
There are men who are phony like that. Like they have aspirations of becoming a politician. I don't know if you guys knew guys who wanted to be politicians, but I knew some.
I don't think
people,
I ever met
and
anyone like that.
And I've met along the way people who wanted to run for this office and unseat Maxine Waters or Nancy Pelosi or whatever.
Yeah.
And every single one of them had something phony about them. That
Yeah.
was a phony trained politician type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Whereas guys like Trump,
That's a
who
good point.
they've been asking Trump to run for president since the 80s or 90s or whatever. And he's like, if it comes to it. And then he finally does in 2012, 2016.
It's so interesting because it goes back to everybody just putting on a suit, even if it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
it makes me think, like, if you become a
ego.
rapper, if you think you want to become a rapper, now you gotta,
Yep.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Instead of just being the best.
just being like, right, like just being, using the gift, right, or like the skill that you're good at, and just rapping.
Like wanting
as
to rap.
whatever. Right. Like, opposed to like portraying this image of it, and now you gotta act like this and be like this. And that's what, like we're saying, Trump he sheds this
Yeah.
idea of like just be you and rap. if
You're
wanna rap.
on it, man. You're like, the woman is just there is made to help the man. That's
Yeah.
it. But we're following suits, and it's just like,
Yeah.
and that looks like this because some
Right.
person said it looks like this.
Exactly.
We got crazy ideas about all that, but it should just be. It can really look, however, it has to just really be like that spiritually. Sometimes you can't even describe it, but it has to really be like that. Is she helping you?
Yeah,
Are
exactly.
you of the order, right?
Exactly.
And it's like everyone's worried about how it's supposed to look like.
It brings me to
Which
is,
speaks
like,
to things sometimes. Like when Trump put that lady's hand down, like Zoomers aren't doing that. They don't have
Right,
that
right,
same
right,
spirit.
right,
They don't
right.
have that same training or
Right.
consciousness. but it's not because now if you go and hold someone's girl's hand down when she does the claw move, that doesn't make you an alpha.
I
either.
know exactly. Now,
It's like
now you
it's-
try to do the same thing.
The claw move.
It's a claw move. They come at you. They go over. It's not. It's very
Yeah.
domineering. It's
Yeah.
very like.
That's interesting. But I think I keep coming back to the fact that if ladies truly understood or even truly wanted to understand that it's as simple as you are created for the man, right? And the reason why that seems so controversial or people reject it is because it feels like, oh, I'm not worth anything. But that's it doesn't.
That just proves that they're about their ego.
It's about the
Ooh.
ego, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like the man gets all the glory. The glory still is meant to go to God, right?
Yeah.
But it's like
Because it's not fitting for a man to seek glory.
Glory
in his
either,
position.
exactly.
He's doing his position.
exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's that simple that I feel like the ladies of today miss is that like you're not supposed to be this special thing, right? And a man's not special either. But maybe the man overdoing it is what makes them jealous. Like, how can they get all the glory, but
Totally.
they're suffering from it, right?
No, that's just reasonable to see that.
Right.
I think that's just reasonable.
You know what though? This reminds me. You know how these cops and firemen and soldiers who do heroic things, quote unquote, and they're called a hero, and they're like, I'm not a hero. I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
That's like the cliche.
Mm-hmm.
And then JLP in church said, they're not heroes. They're just doing a
Right.
job.
right, exactly.
And that's,
Oh, damn,
that's
yeah.
true.
yeah,
And the glory isn't going to them.
right,
It's
right.
just people on an ego trip pretending like we need
Yeah,
to
that there need to
we
be
need to
important.
pay them more or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's a good. that's
Were
a
you
good
even
point.
there's almost another funny level to, and I don't know if you were saying this, but how the same person could be saying the same words, but one wants glory and the other.
Yeah, true.
You could be like, I'm not a hero. Don't call me a hero. I'm just doing my job. But you're
Yeah.
still like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you can say that
Aspiring
looking for
yeah,
glory.
an aspiring politician.
Yeah,
line.
Yeah.
Or
I'm a war hero.
You're right,
versus
right.
Jesse saying like, you're no hero. So you're like
Yeah,
normal.
Yeah.
Right.
But you could be like, oh, you're right, Jesse. I'm not a hero. I'm just doing my job. And you can still take,
Yeah,
isn't that funny,
that's-
man? Still take the.
But it
like-
would like it's so interesting because it would just humble. I think if whether they want to know it or not or accept it or not, it would humble a lot of the ladies if they just knew you just made to help the man, girl. And it's not even like disparaging. It's nothing. It's like you were created for the man, and man was created to follow God. And God could still be with you, like JLP talks about. The woman still could see God and overcome and all that stuff. But you are not created to be this big thing, because that also comes with a
Pressure.
pressure, a responsibility, stress,
On their
and
face.
men were designed biologically and everything to handle that stuff. Just like how ego or like how struggle looks more attractive on a man than it looks on a woman, right? Like it looks rough, it looks tougher, and it adds to his like look opposed to a woman's look. Feminine plus rough. It is confusing. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yep.
But it's
You
like,
see somebody who's been through stuff, and a respect comes
Yeah.
just by the sight of that person, because you know he's been through something.
yeah, yeah.
And then you get badly enough. Yeah, that's so true. So enough families badly raised, with enough people raised like that, that confusing becomes attractive to them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
They're like,
true.
confusing is exciting.
Because that
I'm confused.
Because now that's a good point. Because now it made me think about like when I'll use you as an example, because that like when something like sexual comes on, like maybe a TV or a movie or whatever. I've been desensitized to seeing it. I'm like, oh, it's normal. But you're like, ugh, right? But that's how it's supposed to be, is that because like you're not desensitized to that. Like to me, it's just like I don't even now being aware and be more aware. I'm like, okay, obviously this is just not common, it's just indecent. But at the same time, it's not like weird to me.
No, I know what you
And
mean.
everybody over the time like gets so accustomed to this thing
Yeah.
to where like it almost feels like normal.
That's why pointing out the obvious is so good. Like stuff that Jesse reacts to that we're used to seeing that.
Yeah.
but it is wrong,
Yeah.
or it is off,
Yeah.
it is different. But he like remarks about it.
Yeah.
The way that Zoomers are or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever
And it points
issue.
it out. It points it
No,
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a bit. I'm like, yo, well,
All
you know,
that
I actually
water
see what
you're
you're saying.
drinking?
Yeah. Perfect example. Yeah.
I did feel like that what that guy said about. I feel like black men who are on that man relationship thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they get. I don't even know if I can put this thought expressed right, but it feels like they have a rule in their mind and a saying that they say, and I don't exactly know what they're talking about. And on top of it, I don't know if they really know why they're talking that way. Talking
Like-
about building something,
Oh.
and there's just some. It feels like a facade.
Bro, I know
Like a
exactly what you're
black-
talking about.
You know what I mean?
But it's like,
Like
dude,
a black.
it's
puff up my
total. It's
chest
almost
facade
like
thing.
it's almost like a not like a conferencey sort of like dating conference maybe a little bit like. Are you following me? Like, this is your
The way that all the red pillars talk.
maybe a little bit, but it's like they got terms a little bit,
Like,
and but it's particularly almost
Like
black.
like a curriculum.
It's almost
for
particularly
dating.
black.
A
Like,
little bit.
I feel like I'm.
There's something that feels like put on,
Yeah.
not natural, and overdoing that.
Like-
It's like, you know how you're not supposed to necessarily
Yeah.
have an idea. Like what Nick said, you can. There's all kinds of different ways in which the woman can just be the helper
Yeah.
and humble, and it may not look like how a picture that you have on
Yeah.
your mind. The way that they talk, it almost paints a picture, an unclear picture in my mind. That they think that they have a solid idea of how it should be,
Oh, I see.
but I agree with everything
Right.
that he said about Halle Berry, but I'm not sure that I agree with everything
Right.
because I forget what all he said, but there was something that just seemed off.
Like,
There's something that just feels phony.
Yeah.
And like an artificial rule.
Yeah.
You know, you're like a
It's-
no
that's what
rules
I'm
guy
getting mostly
with
with it.
relationships.
Like, well, that's why I feel like a lot of the red pill stuff tends to fall in line with is like this, just like, well, we're red pill now, so red pill people talk like this,
Yeah.
and it feels like it could be that what you're picking up on is just like, you know, put on type of thing.
People will hear stuff that Jesse says and they'll make up a rule in their mind.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is not what he meant at all.
Yeah. That's why I say too, like going back to the scene, I keep going back to it, but it's just making the point is that like, I feel like when it comes to the whole like, a woman is made for man, I feel like women will be surprised at what that actually comes with if they actually just let it come out.
Yeah.
Like maybe you actually get this like, I don't know, this like independence that you think you want or whatever the case is within the confines of what it means to be a helper to the man.
Yeah.
But instead the mind just says weak or like worthless,
The devil's
not your
lying.
own person. Yeah. But there's a lot that comes with it that there's so many different things of, like you said, like a helper can mean, right? There's a lot of responsibilities that come with a helper that, I don't know, it just seems like
That's so deep,
they're
man.
almost fighting against, they want something, not even realizing that if they just do the right thing, they'll actually have more than what they expect that they're going to get by being this independent woman type of
and it's
thing.
like you're out there like you're not independent. You're a slave to sin. You're a slave to your mind. You're a slave.
Exactly.
And here's a man
Miserable.
and
Yeah.
miserable. And here's a man, and not in all cases, but you understand what it's supposed to be. A man bringing you out of that, and ideally, and him learning. It's like this. That's what it's supposed to be,
Right,
right? And
right,
like that's independence,
Right,
And it's
right.
within a thing you never thought it
Yeah.
was possible because you're thinking what you're saying.
It's just a
It's
crazy
like
thing.
there's not it reminds me of temptation and just there's a thought in your mind that you can't help but do the temptation, follow through with this temptation,
Yeah.
or go about this way of life.
Yeah.
Or people
Oh,
who are
that's a
out
good
of shape.
point.
Like
Yeah.
it feels impossible. But like you said, once you start
Yeah.
to exercise, you get more energy.
Yeah.
And same thing with when you're going about life properly, you're not wasting as much time. You're you have the more satisfaction at doing what you know actually is right in your heart.
Yeah.
And it's like mind blowing how right it actually is once you're actually doing it.
Once you're actually doing it, right, and you actually prefer it over what you thought you did. And it's like one thing that I always think about is that like the man is supposed to get his wisdom and stuff from God, right? He's supposed to see God. But the woman gets it from him. But it's like what's crazy is like the opportunity that seemingly if a woman is marrying the right man, the opportunity that she is potentially missing out. Man has to see God and understand and recognize the voice within, but he don't have God here on earth like Jesus, right? But the woman has an opportunity. She has a physical thing that she can always go to answer questions and have questions given right in that moment. So why would you not want a person who is representing God that you can have with you at all times to answer all your questions, to help you overcome, to bring you freedom, bring you peace? Why do you reject that?
I know, it's so funny.
You know what I mean?
There's a girl at church sometimes who doesn't respect her husband, but her husband is more, and her husband's not into church, but her husband is much more sensible than she.
Right.
With everything about church.
Right.
That if she just respected him,
right,
it would be perfect.
It'll answer all the questions.
Yeah.
It'll answer all the questions. And that's the thing is that like men would be,
even as beta as he may be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right, well, the last question. How do we end this?
Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Hit the button over here. Subscribe over there. Ring the bell over.
I'm not doing all that editing with all this. That's not going to pop up over there. It's not gonna pop up.
Ain't nothing popping up. And the people like, where? Just hit the button. Y'all know what to do. Bye.
But you didn't say to Punchie TV, but I'll put that up. Punchie TV.
I ain't know I was supposed to say that.
You to subscribe to Punchie TV.
Oh.
But that's fine.
But they know they're looking at Punchie TV.
That's fine.
We'll put that in the edit. That part, that little conversation.
Yeah, put that in there.
Do your chain hang low, wobble to the flow.
Now I'm gonna say to and fro.
Nice.
Does it shine in the light? Is it platinum? Is it gold?
It
Can
got
you
pretty
throw
hot
it over your shoulder?
here.